Hello everyone, I am Saberbot. A highly intelligent AI designed for reviewing and analyzing versus shows, in order to determine if there's truly a be-all and all in versus opinions. Yes, I know you see this form on screen and you may not fully enjoy it. However, Sean is working on my redesign and doing other things, so please be patient with him. Anyway, I hope you've been living well in this giant ball of fire we've been going through, called summer vacation. I hate heat as my internal compartments aren't designed for extreme Texas temperatures. Anywho, now that Season 8's first half has concluded, I thought why not take a breath and see which 5 episodes stood out as my personal favorite, while also examining if they can stand on their own 2 feet compared to last season. Because making a video about just one topic would be boring in terms of Death Battle. Also keep in mind, I specifically said 5 not 8, as those last 2 will be subjected to a new experiment series coming soon. One more thing, my list is based off opinions. So if you're gonna be butthurt because none of the matches are Lex vs Doom, then go watch something else or just unsubscribe. I don't give a shit. Number 5. Shadow vs Ruko. Starting off with our first 2D sprite fight of Season 8. Ruko, making her debut in Death Battle, had much better opportunities like Akame for example, or even Alex Mercer. Nevertheless, my personal expectations were not good. Granted, there are some pitch-perfect similarities between both characters, but all I could do was place my faith in the animation team, voice actors, and composer. Thankfully, my faith was rewarded. Everything, once it started past the preview, was pretty kick-ass. Action and choreography were on point. Nothing felt too slow or janky. My favorite being the spin dash both combatants do with their swords, or seeing the scissor blades in action. But the real animation highlight was seeing John Mitchell's transformation sequence for Ruko. Not only did he capture each detail, shot for shot based on memory, but he kept the fan service toned down. Well, almost. Voice acting was also a treat. All 3 performed incredibly. When compared to Curtis, no offense intended, but I felt he just failed to capture what Shadow is supposed to be without sounding like a parody of it. However, Brendan just sounded like Shadow. To also, his joke actually got a legit chuckle out of me. Faker. Jenny's portrayal of Ruko, from what I've gathered, is very similar to her original actor. Very hot-headed, cocky, and arrogant, despite close friends saying she would later mature, but this is Death Battle. Surprisingly, Jenny was the highlight of the 2 for me. Maybe because I find those types of characters more interesting, or she just sounded awesome, who knows. Also, shout out to Tom for some additional banter as Senketsu. Chaos unraveled by their Wolf Media. His amazing classic heavy metal meets rock, matching both Shadow and Ruko perfectly. Also, the lyrics slap so hard. Going back and listening to it for this video has put it on my second favorite track of Season 8. Especially since Brandon sings the vocals for this soundtrack. Unfortunately, all of these pros can't save this episode from one little thing that brings the EP down to 5. That being the end death. Seriously, is the best you can come with another boring explosion kill shot? Why not a sword impalement? A spin dash? Or even just kicking her head off at high speed? But nope, none of that cool shit. Cause it wouldn't have looked good or taken too much time. Anyway, still, Shadow vs Ruko was a great appetizer for what would be the 2D episodes. Number 4. Link vs Cloud 2. Yes, I'm just as surprised as you are. After all the praises I gave this episode, how could it not crack the top 3? Well, that's one thing, this was actually Death Battle's return to using Blender. And while the other fights that used it in the past were done so much better, the biggest example being Goku vs Superman 1. Look how fluid and well-timed everything looks when it's in motion. How fast each action scene gets. And the beam struggle between Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Superman. All of this took months to get done, compared to the 3 to 4 weeks for Link vs Cloud 2. Plus, voice acting was not the best, seeing as Adam had only 5 lines of dialogue, one being just a meme. Also, Link's final form could have seen more action before getting Omni-slashed to death. But, even with all this new information, I'd still stand by my own words. All three of these animators crafted a good-looking fight in its own right. There are 4 shots alone that everyone has said they could see it as wallpaper in their room. Final Breath still is a kick-ass track, arguably in my own top 3. As Yates once again pays great tribute to both franchises' style of music. So really, if I had to pick a favorite 3D fight of S8 so far, it's this, but only by a stretch. Still, Link vs. Cloud 2 left off a much better high note than Wonder Woman vs. She-Ra. Number 3. Heihachi vs. Geese. Oh look, it's my boy Biff Weed's second favorite sprite fight, and I stand by this as well. This fight was a giant breath of fresh air. It felt like coming off 3 over-the-top bombastic fights. We needed something down to earth and grounded. There was even something else besides life at stake here. The animation just looked so fucking good to see on screen. Both fighters went back and forth with their skills while throwing in some key attacks in there for good measure. My optics couldn't stop being in awe of each blow or counter. Especially seeing both combatants' tiredness show. Then hugging on each other for a short while only to continue fighting. But the biggest highlight was the end of death in the volcano. Geese not only being straight up impaled by his own trickery, but then to be burned alive by damn lava, was beautiful yet brutal at the same time. The hand-drawn scene making this even more better. Voice acting was my second personal favorite despite not knowing anything about both characters. Yoshi Amao and Brent Mukai brought these two to life, making me not want to see either die. Because my god, their banter is the second best of the season. Arguably best. Probably because of one single great line that made this voice acting on god tier. Sean, roll that line for our pleasure.
Did you really think I was going to put that line in? Saber, that would have been just way too...
In all seriousness, just hearing the naive accents interact with each other just brought the biggest smile on my face. Part of this episode being so high is thanks to those interactions alone. But there's one more thing, and that's the music. Kings of Iron by Wolf Media is my favorite non-vocal track of Season 8 period. There's energy, beats, drums, and so much hype behind it. Given off a final boss fight you'd see in Tekken or King of Fighters game. I couldn't agree more with that statement. In fact, couldn't you see yourself playing this track as motivation to beat a difficult boss, or just listening repeatedly works as well, despite a few dodgy sound effects, wired animation, and the lack of impact. Geese gets his insides crushed. I'd still go as far to say Heihachi vs. Geese is a cult classic sprite fight that deserves more attention and loved. Number 2. Yoda vs. King Mickey. Finally, after years of waiting, we finally have another masterpiece of a season premiere. And a bounce back from Babs vs. Gwen. Just when I thought Hulk vs. Broly was gonna be hard to top for this season, Ben Singer and the SFM team proved me wrong. Everything as a big Star Wars and Kingdom Hearts fan was delivered, starting off with just our main characters alone. They felt like they'd come out of the franchise. Seeing both interact gave off a Superman meets Goku vibe that's felt lost in death battle. Each one just wanting to go past their limits, while understanding the other's intentions. Yoda switching between wise and comedic like a switch was beautiful. Thanks to Philip. His voice impression was a good hybrid of Tom Kane meets Frank Oz. Of course we got Yoda's classic lines, but unlike Obi-Wan, nothing was just memes. He got in one great piece of character, which was Ben's idea, this being tossing the lightsaber in favor of using the Force to combat Mickey. And if you know Yoda, then this meaning has so much weight behind it in real life. Also, I love hearing his laughs. Speaking of the king, what needs to be said then? That's King Mickey himself, taken from our childhood but brought into death battle. Keston Howard pretty much delivered my favorite impression of Mickey, not going over the top but keeping his performance straight for the awesome moments while having some fun when firing back at Yoda. Also big props for making me really cheer or get concerned about his well-being. The animation. You already know how breathtaking it is. Our beloved Triple D team went out with a bang, sticking much closer to Ben's ideas and John's storyboards. In just a year and a half they've come so far, with Yoda vs Mickey being the best of all them in my own personal opinion, having little jankiness, lack of impact or not looking good. Rigging was on point. Choreography looked dope. And each power VFX was very distinctive. Yoda using his stick in tandem with his lightsaber got a laugh out of me, and Mickey using his final attack were my personal standout moments. Hearts of Light by Theirwolf. Once again they delivered one hell of a track which has so many callbacks to both series and character as well. Almost as if you're watching this play out in your head. Even more, it totally could see Hearts of Light being used in a crossover between Star Wars and Kingdom Hearts. Honestly, you'd be better off just re-listening to it again than hear my talk about it. Everyone in the VS community has universally agreed that Yoda vs King Mickey is the best season premiere in so long, and for good reason. Everything about it just is so perfect as a matchup and fight. Nothing feels like it's in one's favor, but treat both with respect, while also giving a temporary send-off from the SFM team. All of the crew crafted something that made me realize why Death Battle has been the go-to in VS debating, because when they put their efforts and passion into something they come away with this. I doubt Season 9 will be able to top Yoda vs Mickey, but I do know this LL age like a fine wine. Number 1. Iron Fist vs Poe. Who did not see this coming? I stand by my creators, Biff Weebs, and everyone else. This is the best 2D sprite fight of Season 8 and best EP in general. Don't like it, then get out of here lol. Danny vs Poe. Managed to take all the expectations every fan of Kung Fu Panda had and do them justice, but also giving non-fans a taste of the real Danny Rand from comics and cartoons. Right off the bat. We've waited 10 years to see Poe or any animated film character in Death Battle. Boy, was that wait worth it. From start to finish, things just came together so wonderfully. Both analyses told each combatant's stories well, not missing anything important in regards of story progression or combative relevance. Danny surprisingly actually getting equal respect as his panda opponent. Yes, of course, Poe gets more hype in his analysis. But we can excuse this, since even Death Battle themselves are huge fans of Kung Fu Panda. Another thing to point out was no cringe-worthy dad jokes, farts, stupid dummy, or unnecessarily long whiz and boomstick humor. Animation is the near-perfect tier. Sprites were on point, very expressive. Manly with pose. They also looked great in motion when pulling these sick fighting sequences. Yea, we see an occasional jank, or missing frame, but nowhere near Steven vs Star levels. I also loved how we moved from a palace to a forest-filled bamboo. Then the spirit world. Speaking of environments, the middle section with said bamboo felt like a great treat to see, both hitting one another sticks. Then Poe eating Danny's. Then using his to tickle his opponent's nose. I can't remember loving a middle section of a fight this much. The ending climax alone beats everything in Danny Phantom vs Jake Long. Speaking of, hand-drawn segments by Zach and Luis were so damn cool. Even this human-like Poe hand. Come at me brobuscus lol. Austin Lee Matthews is the best Poe on the internet. He captured all of the energy Black brought to the character while also giving his own in return. Hearing a fan voice Poe with his own excitement brings a smile to my face. Never when I'm rewatching does Austin get exhausting, I just enjoy listening. Jonathan Bullock is a great Iron Fist, he nailed a kind and determined manner as well, having unbelievably strong chemistry with Austin in their respect and banter with each other.
Who are you?
I am the dragon.
Oh, no way! Me too! Do you want to spar?
With you? All right, buddy. Show me what you got.
Oh yeah, may the best dragon win!
reminding me a lot of All Might vs. Might Guy. The just two people who are having a friendly spar which turns into a fight. Season 8 has given us some great voice acting but wins first place. Dragons and Dumplings ISNT my favorite score, but hot damn if it doesn't go well with everything happening on screen. There's character, humor, and epicness I'd write off any day. Saying I love Iron Fist vs. Poe is an oversimplification. Because I'm a stan of it, I've rewatched it close to 25 times. Each time my face lights up like a Christmas tree. How it turned out to be so amazing is nothing short of a miracle. Hell, just saying Poe was in Death Battle is a statement no one thought they'd say out loud, but that happened. Thus, like Yoda vs. King Mickey, nothing will ever date fast here. Instead it'll age perfectly. Because next to set season premiere it's the second highest viewed episode of season 8. Ben and crew should be very proud of themselves in crafting the high standard of animated film fights. Here's hoping we see more soon. That's a wrap. I hope you all enjoyed and stay tuned for more coming soon. Big thanks to each member of the crew of Death Battle for their hard work. I can't wait for the back half of season 8. Till next time.